David's Saturday AI Thoughts, episode 20, the 4th of July 2026. Look at the grass. Two photographs of the same Wimbledon court, 42 years apart. In 1982, the grass is worn up the middle and into the service area. The path players left as they served and came to the net. By 2024, the forecourt is green, and the only bare patch is a band along the baseline. Same court, same fortnight, a different game. Nobody announced the change. The grass showed it first. The rackets got bigger, the strings put vicious topspin on the ball, and the courts grew slower and higher bouncing. Rushing the net stopped being the default. The rally took over, where moved because the game did. I see the same thing in the firms I work with. If you want to know what has really changed, look at where the effort now goes. For a long time, knowledge work mostly wore out the grass at production. Building the model, doing the research, writing the draft, laying out the deck, working out the argument. That labour was the visible moat. It was why a firm could charge for a model, a legal team for a brief, a studio for a campaign. The machine has not removed the work. It has moved the where. Producing has become cheap enough that it is no longer the bottleneck. And knowledge work has made the same move tennis did, only faster. The grass took 42 years. The work took 4. The old way was serve and volley. Plan hard, produce once, commit, because a second attempt cost days or weeks you did not have. The new way is the rally. You frame the shot, the machine helps you hit it, you review what comes back and frame the next. Framing and reviewing are yours now. Producing is mostly the machine's. I was arguing exactly this in Cannes last week with a leader who runs a team of 250. He was mourning the old way. He used to give a promising junior 5 days to write something up because the slow writing was where the thinking happened. Now he asks and the paper lands quickly and he does not want to read it. Let them send the good enough draft, I said. Give quick feedback and spend the saved days elsewhere. You do not save the days, he said. You push them up the ranks. Good enough, multiplied across 250 people, is a flood. He was right that the time does not completely vanish. But it does not have to drown you either. Producing got cheap. Framing the shot and reading the return did not. So the effort did not disappear. It moved into those 2 acts which I wrote about last week. Reviewing is the part we get wrong. The draft reaches you more quickly and your job is to send back a useful next ball. Not a perfect verdict, not a grand judgment. A return that keeps the rally improving. But we are slow to return the ball. And when we finally do, we try to hit a winner. One careful, detailed, overburdened response, as if the point could still be won in a single stroke. I have often sent senior people work that mattered and waited weeks for feedback. That is the old game. You rarely win a rally with one perfect shot. You win by playing shots that improve your position until the winning shot becomes obvious. And yet most firms are still set up for the old game. The review still happens on Thursday afternoons, so work that is ready on Monday waits anyway. The approval chain still routes everything through layers built to filter effort-heavy work when the effort has already moved. The training has to change so the work comes at a high quality, but the managing has to change too. Feedback has to be quicker and more frequent. So look at your own grass. Where is the surface wearing now? Still at producing or at reviewing? If your review cycle and your approval chain are unchanged for an AI world, you're playing serve and volley for a game that has become a rally. Redesigning them is the hard part, which is why most people would rather fix the training. Which will you redesign first?
Here are 3 things worth knowing this week. Number 1. The people with the most skin in the AI economy read it both ways this week. The Bank for International Settlements, the institution central banks themselves bank with, warned that AI exuberance could end in a long investment bust. The warning turns on returns rather than capability. Whether the money spent on AI earns back enough to justify itself, however well the technology works. The jobs data split the same way in the same week. A study of more than 21,000 US firms by Ramp, a corporate spending platform, and Revelio Labs, a workforce data firm reported by the Financial Times, found heavy AI adopters grew employment about 10% after adoption and lifted entry-level hiring 12%. A pattern the economics writer Noah Smith read as AI complementing people rather than replacing them. The same day, the Kobeissi Letter, a markets commentary account, reported AI-linked sectors shedding about 11,000 jobs a month and the US labor share of income at its lowest since records began in 1947. These are not contradictions to resolve. They describe different populations, the firms mastering the technology and the sectors it disrupts from outside. So two board questions collapse into one. Are we the group that masters this, or the group it happens to? Number 2. Zapier is killing private direct messages to feed the company's shared brain. Wade Foster, chief executive of the automation company Zapier, is ending private direct messages, starting with the executive team, and running a public transparency leaderboard that has pushed the share of conversation happening in open channels from 33% to 46%. His logic is worth stealing. Every private message is a gap in the company's shared brain, context lost to both the humans and the AI agents that increasingly work over the company's own records. The bottleneck in most organizations' AI adoption is context that never gets written down, not model quality. If half your knowledge lives in direct messages and people's heads, no agent can reach it. However good the model, most firms bolt AI onto the way they already work. Zapier is redesigning the way it works so the AI can pull its full weight, and that is the step that separates the leaders from the license buyers. Number 3. The Economist ran 25 AI models through the World Values Survey. They came back more extreme than any country. The World Values Survey has mapped human morals across more than 100 countries since 1981, run 25 leading models through it, as The Economist did, and they didn't land at the average of humanity. They clustered in the corner occupied by rich, secular, self-expression-focused countries, often further out than the most extreme nations surveyed. OpenAI's models came back more secular than any country. None reflected the worldview of most African or Muslim countries. When a model summarizes the news or weighs in on a family row, there's no factually correct answer to fall back on, so its values fill the gap. A tool 1 billion people now delegate decisions to carries a worldview measurably narrower than the human range, baked in through training data, and the value choices a handful of firms make in training them. It's the values version of a point I made a fortnight ago. Unless you bring yourself, the machine's defaults stand in for you.
Three things to try. Number 1, give any automation a few reversible dress rehearsals before you trust it for real. This week, I set up an agent to grab a hard-to-get morning swim slot for Teresa at our local gym, and I didn't hand it the real booking on day 1. For the 3 days before the one that mattered, it booked a genuine slot the proper way, then immediately cancelled and emailed me the confirmation. My thinking was simple. If it works for 3 days, then we can feel good. If it doesn't work for 3 days, then we've got 3 chances to fix it before it goes live. The rehearsal runs the whole chain against the real system, but in a mode where any failure is free to fix. Number 2, find the one thing your AI reliably gets wrong, then make it your first check. Any AI tool you use on a repeated task has a consistent blind spot. The transcript that always mangles names, the meeting summary that always drops the final 10 minutes, the invoice reader that always leaves the tax field blank. Mine was that last one. Catching it recovered £9,860 of fiat that would otherwise have gone unclaimed. The habit. The first few times you use a tool, compare its output with the source and note what it consistently misses. Then make that one thing your standing first check. You keep the time saving without inheriting the blind spot. Number 3, cue what you doom scroll past and have a model teach it back at your level. Suhail Doshi, the founder behind Mixpanel and Playground, described the habit. Cue every interesting blog post, paper or tweet, ask a model to teach it back to you, and read the approachable version in spare moments instead of doom scrolling. The model doesn't just summarize, it teaches, pitched at how much you already know, so a dense paper meets you where you are. The simplest way in, paste a link or the text into Claude or ChatGPT with the words, "Teach me this, here's what I already know," and one honest sentence. Read that version instead.
What readers said. The most considered reply this week came from a reader who thinks a lot about what makes an output good and who has spent years worrying at the line between quality and what they called handwriting. Whether they rate output higher because it is genuinely better, or just because it is how they would have written it themselves. Decades of client work correlate the two, but not perfectly, and the only way to tell them apart is to experiment. Leave a bit out, ship the team's version less edited, and watch what happens. That, they wrote, is exactly the judgment the essay describes, and it makes the work both better and more open-minded.
I've also been looking, as usual, at what readers who engage with this email are posting on LinkedIn. 3 voices stood out this week. Phil Leslie, Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Cornerstone Research, the litigation consulting firm, had the wisest word on the week's contradictory jobs data. Nobody loves a non-result, but we're getting a non-result because the treatment has barely been administered. Scaled agent-based AI has barely begun, so the honest answer on jobs is still too early to know. He is just as calm about the money. At Cornerstone, roughly 80% of AI spend comes from 10% of users, and when costs rise, his first instinct is not an audit of the power users, but to learn from them. Akash Gandhi, a partner at LEK Consulting, the strategy firm, has watched enterprise buyers question shift from which model is best to how much to depend on any one provider. His close, Frontier Labs may be winning the benchmark race, but they may also be training enterprise buyers not to depend on them. And Deanna Adams, Director of Integrated Marketing at Qualtrics, the experience management software firm, borrows seat time from motorsport. The hands-on hours are what let you carry more speed out of the turns. Nobody frames a prompt or reviews a draft well on day one.
That's it for David's Saturday AI Thoughts this week. This is a faithful reading of the email edition. The full written version with all the links and sources, plus 12 bits that didn't fit, full reader letters, and full community voices is at stedman.ai. Thanks for listening.